Hey everyone. Welcome. Oh, hey everyone, welcome to our EndNote Essentials workshop. This is put on today by Roseman University Library and primarily me and my colleague Hector here. My name is Tia Alicia Perry. I go by Tia, but my legal name is Alicia, so that's probably what you're going to see if you try and email me. But Tia and Alicia are the same person. And I am a research and learning librarian here at the South Jordan campus. And I am also the dental liaison. So I support the dental program primarily, though, of course, I am happy to help anyone who has EndNote questions. And Hector, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Hector Lujan. I am the medical librarian for the College of Medicine down here in Summerlin, Nevada. Like Tia also said, that all of us librarians are cross-trained and referenced in different subjects. So you can come to any of us for any of the questions that you may need, and we can either try to help you answer the question, or we can reroute you to the librarian that has the answer for you.
Right, so why don't we go ahead and jump into it? Today we are doing EndNote Essentials. So what we're going to do is we're going to quickly cover kind of what EndNote is, kind of its most essential functions that most students will use in the course of, say, writing a paper, and where to find some information about how to use it if you're ever stuck and it's after hours and we're not available. We do have some information online for you to find as well. And then we're going to open the floor to your questions and your projects and conundrums with EndNote. So let's get started. So this is what we intend to cover. So the goal today is actually mostly to introduce you to its most vital functions and kind of get you familiar with EndNote if you're not already. So we're going to cover what EndNote is and its purpose, as well as how to create a new library, how to find and import articles into EndNote, how to create a citation from a PDF in case you're one of those who kind of gathers PDFs more so than export citations formally, as well as how to insert basic citations into a document as though you're writing a paper. And then we will open up to the workshop. Before we get started, though, I want to direct you to our existing resources on not only EndNote, but we also cover Zotero, as well as how to properly format citations and sources in general. You can find them at the links here by scanning the QR code, or you can find them through Roseman Library's website, and I will show you quickly kind of how to find it. So if you go to the main Roseman page, you all know where the library tab is up top. I have a little technology is betraying me. We'll see if that. I don't know why that's not playing. But anyways, if you go to the main Roseman website and you go up here to the library tab, it'll take you to the library page. And underneath the search bar there will be a link that says all library guides and resources, and it will be under the research guides. And that's where you'll find Zotero, that's where you'll find EndNote, that's where you'll find citing and writing, and all of our guides that already exist to support you in basic research endeavors. We'll go ahead and hop over. So first of all, we should cover what a citation manager is, because EndNote is probably one of the best known citation managers. But what does that mean? So several things. Basically, it's one convenient place that gathers all of your references and PDFs, organizes them together, and then lets you insert those citations directly into your paper as you write it. Though a lot of them do have additional features. They also often come with web plugins, so that way you can just sort of add citations as you find them, or find sources and then just directly input those citations into EndNote or Zotero. Those are also common features. So it's sort of a gathering place for your references, and then comes with additional features to make turning those references into research a little easier. So how do we get EndNote? Well, the good news is, spoiler alert, it should already be on your student-issued laptop. So EndNote on desktop is provided to all students and faculty at Roseman, and it again, should already be installed. This is what the app icon looks like in case you are unfamiliar. However, which version you have is likely defined by which version was most currently being used when your laptop was issued. So it most commonly is either EndNote 20, EndNote 21, or EndNote 2025. Now, the current version is, as you might have intuited, EndNote 2025, and that's provided by Roseman and paid for by Roseman. If you do not have EndNote 2025, please see your IT or help desk facilities, and they will go ahead and get it all installed and updated for you. You don't have to do anything other than, hand them the computer. But I know you're really wondering, is it worth the actual bother of physically going to IT and having them do it when you already have a version of EndNote? And the answer is it might not be worth upgrading, but it depends on what version you're using. Now, it's cutting it off a little, but you'll notice here that if you have EndNote 20, you only have these features out of all these other features that are currently available. So if you're still rocking EndNote 20, you are missing out. If you have EndNote 2021, you have the majority of the core features. You are mostly missing what up here is AI-powered tools, which allow like chatting with a document, summaries of selected text, different like features like that. It also allows you to cite directly from PDFs using EndNote 2025. And all of those can be handy features. So if you aren't necessarily interested in using them, EndNote 2021 will probably work fine. So, I mean, it's always a good idea to have the latest and greatest. But as you can see, if you have EndNote 2021, you still have most of the core functions. So EndNote also offers some other tools as well. These aren't what we will be teaching you today is EndNote Desktop, essentially. What this is the core of EndNote product. These are sort of add-ons. EndNote Click is an add-on to Google Chrome, and this allows you to gather those citations directly from the browser and then import them into your EndNote library that way. And we're not going to go very deep into either of these. It's mostly just so that you know they're here. Whereas EndNote Web is sort of the online interface that can pair with your EndNote desktop library. So that way you can access it from any computer that has a browser rather than just your EndNote desktop. However, EndNote Web is a lot more elaborate to use in terms of syncing and file management. So there are going to be resources coming up from the library about how to use those. But at this current moment in time, we are primarily focusing on EndNote Desktop. Just know that these exist, and you can look into these tools if you are interested in either of those things. So actually, now I'm going to turn the time over to Hector, and he is going to demo some basic EndNote functions for us.
All right, thank you, Tia. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So can you stop sharing, please? Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen now. Let's see, give it a little bit. Okay, so you should have access to my screen now. So as Tia mentioned, we're going to be giving you the basic rundown of EndNote Essentials. I'm kind of leaving the complicated stuff to further workshops that we might do or putting up on a library guide. It's important for you to understand that EndNote does have a lot of these other tools as well, but you should really concentrate on learning EndNote using the desktop version because it's a lot more simplistic and it allows you to prepare yourself and prepare a strategy of organization that will help you later on when you start accessing things like the EndNote web version. So the first things first, I'm going to go ahead and open up EndNote. I'm going to click on my search bar, and if you type in EndNote, or for me, because it's been recently opened, it's going to appear here. And I currently have the EndNote 2025 version. Again, you can decide if you want it. If you do, you go to IT and they can help you download it. There's a couple of things that are important when it comes to the EndNote library. So it opened up on this window. Let me just drag and drop here. So this is currently the EndNote library. When the EndNote library gets created, when you first download EndNote, it's going to be titled My EndNote Library. And this is going to be considered your main base access point for anything EndNote related to references, right? I'm going to go ahead and drag over my folder to show you what happens. So when you download the program, EndNote will create a folder automatically where it's going to put in this file location, this library, right? I went ahead and put it under a folder called main for the sake of organization, so that the library that you're currently seeing here, which is my EndNote library, is technically this one here. This is my EndNote library. Now, it's important you understand that when you want to create different projects for different papers, different classes, different, things and references that you want to organize, it's very, very strongly recommended that you create a new library in order for you to keep those references separate, and you have one library that is your base library that's going to maintain all of your references, in which case then later on you can transfer them over to the separate library project for either your paper or specific courses. And it's very helpful at that moment because when you delete things from the main base of the library, you will lose all the references. So you need to start getting into the habit of creating different libraries for different projects. So if I were to go back one folder, you see here that I have the main library that EndNote just automatically populates and downloads. But I went ahead and created a different folder for presentation because we're going to create a new library and put it into that folder. So what does that look like? From the main library, which is called my EndNote library, you're going to go to File, you're going to go to New, and then you're going to create a new library. And again, remember, I already created a folder for this specific new library. I know that it's in the College of Medicine folder for me. And remember, here's the EndNote folder that I showed you earlier, the one that EndNote created on its own. So from here, this is the subcategory, the subfolder where I want to put this new project, okay? I'm going to open that up. And before I save it, I'm going to name this new library a different naming scheme. So I'm going to call it Presentation 1 because that's what we're doing today. It's a presentation slide, right? What would help if I spell it properly? Presentation 1. Okay, now we can go ahead and hit save. And now I should open up a new library that's called Presentation 1. So this is how you're going to get used to organizing your references. So you keep the original My EndNote library alone for importing references. But again, you want to create these different libraries to organize your references and make it a lot easier for you to keep track of them. Okay, so we're going to be working with this specific one here called EndNote Presentation 1. Okay, now the next step that we're going to do is I'm going to drag and drop a web browser to my main screen. And this is the roseman.edu main website. Okay, so now we're going to travel to our library databases so you can find articles that you want to save references and citations for so that we can put into our Presentation 1 new library. So from the main roseman.edu website, we're going to go down to library. And once we get to the access point, at the bottom here, you see some of the guides that are currently listed for each of our programs. If we go to dental medicine, I'm going to right click and open this in a new tab. Now this is where you have all the things that Tia is doing for that program, and you have her contact information here. If I were to go back and close this web page, and I click on the medical tab, it'll take you to the library guide that I have specifically for the College of Medicine. So dependent on your specific program, you can go ahead and click on any one of those corresponding links to get you to the library specific guide for college to get the librarian that is responsible for your program, and you have that contact information. Now, in order for us to move to find citations, we're going to go down to our library resources down here at the bottom. We're going to open up this drop-down menu for online resources, and we're going to click on all library resources to get to the access point to all of the databases that you have access to as a Roseman student. Excuse me, I'm currently on campus, so I should be reading my credentials and the Wi-Fi and all that. But if you're off campus, the second you click on any one of these links, it'll ask you to input your credentials. The credentials are going to be the same way that you get into Canvas. And if you have any questions on logging into the databases or you get any error messages, please feel free to reach out to any librarian or any library staff member at Roseman, and we can help you gain access to those specific resources. So the first database that I'm going to show you is our EBSCO database. And the easiest way to get to the EBSCO database is by clicking on the very first listed database called Academic Search Premier, because EBSCO owns like 20 different databases. And as long as you get to any of the access points through any of the access databases for EBSCO, you'll get to the same place. So by clicking on Academic Search Premier, you will see that it'll open this up in a new tab. And again, it's logging me in because I'm currently on campus. And now this is kind of the EBSCO interface, as you can see here on the right-hand side. Clicking on searching will open up the prompt to all those databases that you have available to you through the EBSCO subscription. The best thing that I suggest to all my students is that you want to select all the databases because you want to go and search through them all at once instead of going through them individually. And you're casting a wider net possible for you to get as many resources as you can. And then you being the research professional are going to limit based on the results that come back to find the specific articles that you're looking for a specific topic. So I always recommend students to select them all. And once you have that selected, we're going to go ahead and click on select just to make sure that they register. And now you can use the search bar to enter your terms. You don't want to do things like you do on Google where you type in full sentences. This is not an AI system either, so full sentences will freak out the database. You want to take your topic and break it down into specific key terms. For this example, I'm going to do orthodontics and diabetes, specifically type 2, because I want to find articles because I'm writing a paper about that, for example. I want to find articles that support the claim that type 2 diabetes is directly affected into the orthodontics and oral health. So what does that look like? So I'm going to break that down to these key terms where I'm going to type in orthodontics into the first search bar, and I'm going to leave it alone. I'm not going to go to the second search bar, and I'm going to leave the Boolean operator for the capital A and D because now I wanted to find articles on 2 different topics. If you were to use the or, it's more of a wider net of casting articles where you're going to find articles on both orthodontics and diabetes, specifically type 2. And notice that when I started typing in diabetes, the database is starting to suggest terms that are interchangeable, right? So we're going to select diabetes type 2 or diabetes mellitus type 2 or diabetes 2Ps. Those are all interchangeable terms that are going to help us find more articles that are tagged with that specific language. So I'm going to go ahead and select that option. And again, remember, we're leaving the Boolean operator as the capital A and D because we want to find all articles that have to do with orthodontics and diabetes or diabetes mellitus type 2 or diabetes 2 in the same article. Remember, that's the important part of the search strategy is that we want both topics in the same article. So once we kind of have this search strategy flushed out, you can go ahead and click on search. And these are the results that we're going to end up getting. That should not be happening. Let's go back and try this again. Orthodontics. Let's go back one. Well, it helps if you spell things correctly. So let's go ahead and try this again.
That to say.
Thank you, Tia. So we should have more than 2. Yes, 76. Good. So now we have articles from which we want to search for. So the way that you can access these articles is you click on the record page or right click on them, open a new tab. Let me get this out of the way. And here we have access to the article. So let's say you read this article and you like it. We're going to find a way of pulling the citation and inputting it into our EndNote database, right? Our citation manager. The way we go about this is on the little cite button here on the top right-hand side, we're going to click on that. And we're going to click on where it says export citation. And now what we want to do is we want to export this into an RIS format because we're going to download the physical reference of this article to input and import into our EndNote 2025 software. Now you do see that you have the EndNote web version available here, but again, I would avoid this until you practice with the desktop version because the EndNote version has a bunch of different issues with it or strategies that are involved with the syncing of that online EndNote web version with the desktop version that we will get into in another day or an online video that we're going to be creating to put up on our library guide. So for now, we're going to download the RIS format, which is the format that a lot of the citation managers use like EasyBib, EndNote, Mendeley, Zotero, RefWorks, and so forth. So we're going to go ahead and click on export the RIS format. It's going to go ahead and download. And we're going to leave it in our downloads folder so we know where to come back to it, okay? So we're going to go ahead and click on save. And now, see, it's up here. It was already downloaded. And notice the timestamp 524. We're going to use this to find that citation specifically when we go to the import section in EndNote, which we're going to do right now. So I'm going to switch over to our EndNote software. I'm going to go to our EndNote 2025 presentation 1. This is the library that I specifically created for this example. We're going to go up to where it says file. We're going to scroll down until we have import. And then we're going to import a file. We're going to input that specific RIS file that we have from the downloads folder. Now, the first thing that you're going to want to do, and that's very, very important, is where it says the import option. We're going to switch this down to our RIS file reference manager so that it knows how to read the file that we're going to be importing into EndNote 2025. So once that is selected, because remember we did download that RIS file, we're going to go to choose. And now we're going to go to our downloads folder in our computer, which is on the left-hand side for me because it is a shortcut. Every computer is different, so you might want to know where the files are being downloaded from a web browser. Usually, for most Microsoft computers, PCs, it'll be on the left-hand side. So we're going to click on downloads. Remember that 524 timestamp. Usually have this timestamp here, but this is the one. Oh, here it is, 524. So now we know that this is the file that I just recently downloaded. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that RS file. I'm going to hit open. And I'm going to go ahead and click import file. And now that file is going to be imported. So currently right now, you see this reference being listed here with the title, the year of publication, all the authors, and the journal. Let me close this so you can see this better. The journal, when it was last updated, and then type of reference type. But I want you to keep in mind that we're currently still in the imported reference section. So this is kind of like a staging area for any references that you upload. But the place where it's permanently going to be located is technically the all references tab. So that's where all the references are going to be staying that you download from any of the databases, okay? That's how you were to do one citation at a time going through the record page. Now let me show you, going back to that EBSCO search results list, how you can upload multiple articles at once. So let's go back to, let's see, where's EBSCO? Right here. So now we're back to our EBSCO page, right? This is the article that we just downloaded the reference for. I'm going to go ahead and exit out of this window and back to our search results page. And again, I'm going to actually emphasize that a little bit. When you open articles, try not to click on them here, because if you click on it, it'll reroute the search strategy page to the article page versus, and if I go back one, if you right click it and open in a new tab, it makes it easier for you so that once you download the reference, you can go ahead and exit this window and you do not lose the original search results page list. Oftentimes, students will walk away from the computer and time it out and they forget this search strategy at the top. This is a great way for, even if the database does time out after 15 minutes of you not being on it, that you can at least know what your search strategy was to replicate the search in the future. So always try to get into the habit of opening articles in a new tab. Let's say, for example, you're going through all of these lists and you like all the articles that are listed here because you're doing a literature review and you want to compare all of them at once, right? What you can do now is click on every single one of these radio buttons for all the articles that you're interested in. And we're going to select, let's see, 2, 3, 4, let's go down to, let's go 9 articles, right? Because I like them all. We're just pretending for the sake of this example. Once I selected all the 9 that I like, I'm going to scroll back to the top, or technically 8. I'm going to go to the citation button here in the middle of the page. I'm going to click on it. And now I'm going to export the citation again, and I'm going to select the RIS format so I can get all the citations at once. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. It's going to go ahead and download into my web browser. The same thing, I'm going to leave it in my downloads folder. I'm going to hit save. And now we're going to go back to our EndNote 2025 software citation manager and upload them again. So we're going to go back to EndNote, our presentation library, which is here. And we're going to follow the exact same methods that we uploaded that single individual record, but now we're going to do the bulk record. So we're going to go back to File on the left-hand side, scroll down to Import. We're going to go back to File again. We're going to leave it as a RIS because it's already the default because we just did that recently. We're going to choose the file location. We're already pre-defaulted into our downloads because that's the last place that EndNote found the file. And we're going to notice that this one is now the 528 timestamp, so I know this is the last file I downloaded. And the reason why I'm doing it this way is because when you're downloading multiple files at once and then you leave and come back days later or an hour later, you're going to forget which are the ones that you just downloaded. So it's helpful to know the timestamp to know which are the newest ones. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the last downloaded file. And I'm going to go ahead and open it. I'm going to go ahead and click import. And now all those articles are going to be imported. But notice that where it says imported references, we're still listing only 8. We have a total of 9, but that's these 8 are including the ones that you only just recently imported. This number will always constantly change, so you're keeping track of those articles that you just put into the system, so then you can reorganize them from here. But if we go back to the all reference page, all 9 are currently existing now in this section here, and this is why you want to keep track of these. And again, this is why we created a different library specifically for this project, which is our presentation 1, and left the base alone because now we're kind of isolating the references here so that we know that if we delete things, it'll only delete things from this specific folder and it will not affect our larger library later on down the road. And the reason why I keep pointing that out is that in the future, when you want to start connecting EndNote Web, you're going to have to leave that other base file alone and connect that one to the online EndNote Web Note. But again, that's for a different topic. Right now, we're just sticking with the basic EndNote essentials. But I want you to start getting into the habit of understanding the hierarchy of where you have to put these references and libraries in different separate folders for the sake of making it easier for you down the line. Okay, so this is how we use EBSCO to download some of these references to put into EndNote. Now I'm going to go back into our webpage, and I'm going to show you an example of what happens. So I'm going to close EBSCO altogether. So up here, closing this tab. We are now back in our all databases and resources from the library website. I'm going to now go to PubMed, but we have a quick shortcut link under the P section for PubMed. And specifically, I want to show you PubMed because PubMed downloads their references in a different format, which is a little bit tricky of uploading them onto EndNote 2025. So I'm going to scroll down all the way until I see PubMed, and I'm going to go ahead and click on that corresponding link, and it opens up PubMed. Now, the way that PubMed downloads its files is that they download it in a different format, which saves some of the back-end metadata for the medical subheading terms. And so when you search for topics using the mesh settings, it has to be downloaded in a specific file that you then have to upload in a specific way to EndNote. So I'm going to show you that example in case you do search strategies using the mesh subheadings. So we're going to go ahead and click on mesh, and we're going to run the exact same search that we did in EBSCO, but in a little bit of a different way. So hopefully this time I can spell correctly. So I'm going to type in orthodontics in the search bar, and I'm going to hit search. Because now what it's doing is that it's pulling the official controlled vocabulary for the medical subheading that the National Library of Medicine has listed for orthodontics, right? You have different options for either orthodontics preventive, interceptive, corrective, but we're going to leave our base search just for the basic general topic of orthodontics. I'm going to click on that radio button, and now I'm going to add it to my search builder on the right-hand side. I'm going to go ahead and search PubMed, and it's going to pull up a bunch of different articles that are just tagged with the medical subheadings for orthodontics, right? I don't want to manipulate this search strategy just yet because I'm going to leave it as a base. I'm going to show you right now why. So now I'm going to go ahead and click on PubMed, and I'm going to go back to the mesh database headings on the bottom side under Explore. And now I'm going to search for diabetes, right? Because that's what our theme is, that we're finding articles on both orthodontics and diabetes, specifically type 2. So I'm going to type in diabetes. I'm going to hit enter or search. And now I'm going to select the controlled vocabulary for diabetes, specifically for type 2, and it's down here at the bottom. So diabetes mellitus type 2. We're going to click on that corresponding radio button. We're going to go back up to the top, hit add to our search builder, and we're going to run the search again as the basic diabetes type 2. So we're running it again. We get our articles, our search results page list, right? Now we're going to go back one more time to PubMed. Now, instead of going back to the mesh settings, because we have our searches already done, we're going to click on the advanced button underneath the search bar. And at the bottom where it says history and search details, it's giving you the most recent searches that we just conducted. So we have our orthodontics, which is a mesh heading, and diabetes type 2, also mesh heading. So now we're going to combine these two search strategies in our query box to get a more tailored, specific search results list that are including those medical subheadings. So I'm going to go ahead under search number 1, this little menu under actions. I'm going to click add to query. It's now being added here. Now I'm going to do the same thing for diabetes, but I'm going to add it using, remember, our Boolean operator and. Because I want to find all articles about orthodontics and diabetes type 2 in the same article. That's what the and is doing. Now I'm going to go ahead and hit search. And now we have 10 results from this, right? But these are the most refined result that you can get because they're both looking for that specific control vocabulary that the search strategy is both having for both orthodontics and diabetes type 2 in the same articles. So it's a much easier and tailored way of finding the best articles you can to make it a lot easier for you instead of using some other strategies that might get you like 1,000 articles. So this is kind of the best way of like tailoring it a little bit more specific. But the process is still the same of getting the citation for EndNote. So let's say, for example, the first article, right? I'm going to right click on it, open it in a new tab. Same process applies, right? Let's say you read the abstract, you really like it, you find the article, it's amazing, you want to put it into your EndNote 2025 citation manager. We're going to click on cite. We're going to go ahead and download this file, but notice now it's a .nbib file. This is why NLM database here for PubMed specifically does this type of file format because it's going to include some of those mesh subheadings in the backend. You might not see them, but that's kind of how they're operating off of PubMed. So we're going to go ahead and click on download this file format. It's going to do the exact same thing and put it into our downloads folder. I'm going to go ahead and hit save. And now I'm going to go back to our EndNote 2025 version for our presentation, a 1. I'm going to do the exact same steps with one little difference. So again, we're going to go to File. We're going to go to Import. We're going to go to File again. And now instead of an RIS file, we're going to go and select technically first. Okay, so technically PubMed NLM is listed here, but it's only because I pre-populated this as an example before this presentation started. So normally when you first get into this drop-down menu, PubMed is not going to show up. So instead, what you have to do is click on where it says Other Filters, and then you can select specifically, and technically it's going to start at the top. And then you would go through this list here for all the databases that EndNote has listed. So you see kind of like EBSCO here listed, ACM, AARP. You would then scroll all the way down. Let me use the scroll bar menu to get down to the P's. And then you would select PubMed, and then you hit choose. Now I'm not going to hit choose because it's already populated on my end because I already did this earlier. So then at that situation, it would just pop up here, and then you click on PubMed NLM. Because remember, PubMed NLM is using that very specific file that is not an RIS, it's a .nbib. So now we're going to go ahead and choose, select choose. We are going to, under our downloads section here, which is currently set here, this is the file that we just downloaded, the nbib. We're going to select this file. We're going to hit open, and then we're going to hit import. And now look, it's only that one article that we got from PubMed. It's listed on our imported references right here as only 1, but our total references just jumped up to 10 because we just added that last one. Now, the reason why this is very particular is because technically, if you have one citation and you download it as a .nbib, you can upload it as an RIS file, but that only works for singular article records. If you want to do bulk downloads the way that we did in EBSCO, it's a different process, and you have to specifically tell EndNote 2025 that you're specifically getting them or importing the .nbib file. So let me show what it's like to get multiple records from PubMed. So I'm going to go back to our PubMed search page. Remember, again, we open this in a new tab. Makes it easy just to click out of this. We're going to go back to our article search results page list, right? We already got number 1. So now we're going to click on the remaining citations or article records for the following topics. And we're just pretending that we read them all and we really love all of them. So we're just going to download all of them through the sake of like online presentation, right? We're going to go back up to the top. And now we're going to click on where it says send to. And we're going to send to our citation manager. And it's giving us the option. Do you want to send all results on this page, all the results for the entire search strategy, or just a selection, which we did, which is just the 9? I'm going to select all the 9. I'm going to create the file. And now it's going to download this as, again, the PubMed nbib file, but it's now giving you as a set file for multiple records at once. So if we go ahead and hit save, it's going to go ahead and download into our downloads folders. Now we go back to EndNote 2025, our presentation folder. And now we're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to go to File. We're going to go to Import, File, leaving it as a PubMed file import option. We're going to go to Choose. And now we're going to select that new data set. And again, it's going directly into my downloads folder because that's the last place where I imported a file from. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the PubMed orthodontic set. I'm going to hit Open. And now I just go ahead and hit Import. And now it's going to importing those 9 references listed here, right? Because we're back to our imported references. But now the total references is now sitting at 19, right? And that's kind of the benefit of using the different databases, either through EBSCO or PubMed, to get your articles, get your references from there, and then mass upload them or do them individually into a software like EndNote to make it easier for you to organize things for your papers or your research projects or your literature review, right? But now let's say, for example, you downloaded a bunch of PDFs a long time ago and you want to create a citation for them, but you don't remember where you got the actual article from. You don't know what database it was. Was it PubMed? Was it EBSCO? Was it some of our other databases like ProQuest or something? But you have the actual PDF file. we can do that where I'm going to now go to my file folder. Remember, we had this as an example a long time ago. And this is, again, why it's very, very important for you to be organized with your, not only your articles, but the PDFs of the downloaded articles that you're getting from these databases. Now, for the sake of this example, I already have some downloaded. So they're currently under the PDF articles in my EndNote folder. And I currently have 2 listed here, right? So I'm just showing you where the file of these locations are for the sake of organization, right? But we're going to upload them into EndNote the exact same way you would any other reference. So we're going to go back to our EndNote 2025 Presentation 1 library. We're going to go to File. We're going to go back to Import, File again. But now, instead of leaving it as a PubMed or an RS file, I'm going to go and select PDF. I'm going to go to Choose, and I'm going to get now to that folder that I just showed you a little while ago. Now, remember, this importing feature will take you to the last place you imported a file from. So now I have to get specifically to that last folder that I showed you. So I know it's under my documents. It's going to be under the College of Medicine. One more time. It's going to be under EndNote because that's the EndNote folder that EndNote created by itself when it got downloaded. And now here it is, my PDF articles. Now I'm going to go ahead and click on that. You can upload them individually, right? And then one by one. But let's say you have, 100 of these articles, right? And it's going to take a long time for you to upload these individually and going through this process one by one, right? There's a way that you work around to doing them all at once. So I just showed you how you get there individually, which, for each individual article, because you can't select them all. It won't let you. We don't have to pick one or the other one. So if I go ahead and hit cancel, I'm going to cancel one more time. I'm going to go back to File. I'm going to go back to Import, but instead of doing a file, I'm going to select Folder. And again, this is the importance of having organization and getting into the habit of creating the organization folders for the sake of future of EndNote, the online version, but also for moments like this. So if you had like hundreds of PDF articles already saved, you'd click on Folder. You would go to Choose. Again, import option, PDF has to be selected first. Choose. Now, again, we're going to look for it again. Luckily, because we were just in there a little while ago, it did it for me. So I went to College of Medicine, I went to EndNote, PDF articles. You select that folder, and it will not give you the option to go into the folder because you're mass importing that entire contents of that one folder. So now I go ahead and hit OK. I hit Import, and now those 2 articles that we saw beforehand should automatically get imported into our citation manager. So now here are the 2. And imported references 2, but now our total is 21. And that's how we were able to get different articles, different citations from different databases, from EBSCO, from PubMed, and now uploading them as a bulk option from PDF version, right? Now, this is all great for organization, right? But now the more important thing, how do you put now these citations into a paper or a document or a presentation, right? Now, I'm going to go ahead and open up a Word document. Now, through the sake of online presentation, TV magic, I already have this kind of filled out with example text, right? So, and I'm going to go click on home because this is what you normally would see, right? When you download a citation manager, it will also download a Microsoft Office Word plugin. So the EndNote 2025 gets added here the second you download any EndNote desktop version. So this should already be populated automatically, right? They all kind of look a little bit different, but they all operate the exact same way. So you would click on EndNote 2025, the plugin. The next important thing is you're going to want to select the style manager so that you reference, what type of style you want. APA, 6th, 7th, author dates, Chicago, Vancouver. If your style is not listed here, you would click on select another style. You would then go through this very, very, very long list of all styles that we know of, and you specifically select the one that you're looking for and you hit OK. In this example, APA's 7th edition, which is the newest edition of APA, was not listed when I did this a little while ago. So I had to go in and actually select it to import APA 7th edition. That's why these 2 are listed here. So that's why you have to know how to go back to select another style. You find your specific style, and that way it gets registered into the EndNote plugin. So I'm going to leave it as APA 7th edition just for the sake of this example. Now, let's say, you wrote this little paragraph here, and you want to add the citation at the end of it. You click down here where you want to input the citation. You go to Insert Citation. You go, again, Insert Citation one more time. And now we're going to go ahead and, for the sake of this, I'm going to open up EndNote again just to get, an author. I'm going to do the first one, Arts, ARTS, right? going to go back to that's the author of this specific article. I'm going to go back to EndNote 2025 and I'm going to type in arts. And I'm going to go ahead and hit find. And now look, here it is. Arts 2020, 2012, the authors listed, offloading effects, therapeutic footwear, and so forth. Remember, it was just an example I pulled. It might not be applicable to our search writing topic. That's, for the sake of you as a researcher narrowing down. But I'm going to go ahead and click on it. I'm going to hit insert. And now it gets inputted with the proper AP 7th edition citation for Arts et al. For all the authors. There's a year. And then best part about it is at the bottom of the page, it'll start doing the reference list automatically for you. So it's integrated already as an automatic service. You can turn this feature off. For example, like I technically wrote out reference list, but if I didn't have reference list listed here, the EndNote plugin would automatically go to the bottom of a new page at the very bottom of your paper and start dumping in the citation at the bottom. And this is how you would use EndNote to get your citations from a database in a software, download the file formats, upload them to EndNote, and then use the EndNote 2025 plugin to input these references into your papers. And it makes it a lot easier for you to do instead of you having to do it manually. And this is kind of the basic of the EndNote essentials. Let me go ahead and go back. Let me go back to our main thing. I'm going to share, hopefully it shares this specific one, but does anyone have any questions? This is where we're going to start doing any of the problems you have.
Hector, your sound is cutting in and out.
Die on my headset. So perfectly on time, actually. So does anyone have any questions if you can still hear me? So you might need to take over a little bit if I'm going to have issues with the speaker.
Will do.
Hi, I do. I still don't get what is the style in the Microsoft.
Okay, let me go back. Microsoft Word Office. So the style up here is literally the formatting of your specific program. So I think the nursing students have to use AP 7th edition, which is the American Psychological Association. And that's how the format is listed here for like Arts et al., 2012. That's how the software knows how to properly cite a reference. For other students that are using, let's go and do an example down here. And this is actually a good question because if I were to switch the style and do something like, I don't know, let's try Chicago. No, let's not do Chicago. Let's do Vancouver. No, let me go. I'm going to select another style because I'm more comfortable using like MLA. I'm going to go.
Do MLA. That's another applicable one. It's also commonly used in PubMed. So
yeah. Thank you, Tia. So I'm going to go down to MLA. Let's see, M's going down, JL, MLA. If you see it, let me know. Let's go MLA 9th because that seems like it's the most, up to date. We're going to select MLA 9th, right? And now notice that this citation changed from Art et al., but now the year is no longer there. That's very specific to MLA, which is a different style of citation for those specific concentrations of students who are in a different study. So it's dependent on your program that you're going to want to choose a different style. So if you don't mind me asking, what program are you in, or what's your degree that you're trying to get through Roseman? Because I can probably tell you which citation you're probably going to end up using.
I'm actually in the MSPS program for pharmacy.
Okay, so pharmacy, correct me if I'm wrong, Tia, but I think they're also using APA.
I believe so.
So then you would then, so don't quote me on this, or if you have, send me an email afterwards and I can find out specifically for you. If not, ask your instructors because they would know, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be AP 7th edition. So then that's when it automatically redoes this to including now the year as part of the in-text citation. That's what the style is. It's dependent on the program that you're in and how you properly cite. So for example, if you're in the pharmacy program and you cite an MLA and your professor sees it, they're gonna knock points off of your paper because you're not using the standard that's specific to your program degree. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, of course. Does anyone have any other questions?
I think it's also worth mentioning too, if you end up submitting a paper to some sort of outside organization, maybe a journal, and perhaps they have some super specific style they would like you to submit in, and it does not appear to be on the list. You can also, and the main EndNote website also has a much larger library of very specific styles. If the current version isn't in your EndNote library, you can go ahead and download it directly from their website, and they have basically everything. So if you can't find it there, look on their website.
Yes. And sometimes even for publications that you want to do on your own, you want to publish outside of magazines, like Tia was mentioning, it's very important that you know what they're looking for. But also if you're trying to get it, some like my students for the College of Medicine have to then do publications to get into residency programs. If they're trying to get into residency program and doing some sort of research and they cite in the wrong style, that's an immediate red flag to these programs that they're not paying attention to the appropriate standards for their specific field. So it's something to look for for the future case as well. So it's thank you for asking the question. It's very, very important. Does anyone else have any questions that we can help troubleshoot, or if something wasn't too clear?
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
I wanted to know, with all the information that you guys shared to us, is it any way that we'll be able to like come back to this information or this video or just this Zoom call in general that we had with you guys today?
Yeah, we're currently recording this, and then we're going to be posting it on our library guide. And then if you want, Tia, can you put in our email addresses in there? Or you can also go to your specific program librarian, and then you can ask them, where is this video? And we're going to create a guide on our library website where we're going to post the video. So you can come back and reference this as well. And also in that guide, we're going to have future videos of us like integrating EndNote, the web version as well.
Got it. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah, of course. Our email should be in the chat. Like I said, if anyone else has any questions, you can always go to the library homepage. And also sometimes, actually all the time, a chat does appear on the library homepage. So you can also send in a chat to our library staff and ask them, where's this video? Or then they can even redirect you to the librarian who would have that information as well.
Everybody needs a second to think of their questions. There's another helpful tip I'd like to point out now. Hector, if you want to hover over the Arts et al. 2012.
Okay.
So when you're in your paper adding references, you may be tempted, or you may need to list something such as like a page number or something like that that you want to add in for whatever reason. It may be tempting to click on it and then manually type it in right there, right then, the way you normally would with a Word document. This is a bad idea, because what's going to happen is so right now we're just treating that as sort of an export from EndNote. So that's not going to match what's actually in EndNote. And because you just typed it in directly, it's going to flag that as an error. And eventually it's going to, it might look correct the way you wanted it for a little bit, but eventually Word is going to sync with EndNote and undo that change. So the way to make changes to your in-text citations like this is to go up to edit and manage citations right there. So, and the citation you have clicked on should be the one that's brought up and selected. And then you'll enter in, you'll see down there is page numbers. And that's where you're going to enter in the page you have the in-text citation on, and then hit OK, and it should add it to your internal citation. Now, Hector, if you scroll down, we can show them that, as you see, the reference itself has not changed, which is good to know, because as you see, there is a page range here. The entire article encompasses pages 1534 to 1541. If we were to accidentally go to, say, Edit Library References button, we would actually change the EndNote citation to accidentally say we were just using the entire article only encompasses one page, which would be inaccurate and might get you flagged for a incorrect citation. But by using the correct button within Word, we don't want to change it here because that would change the entire citation. The in-text citation, or what you are specifically quoting, is the only one that needs to be cited to a specific page. And for that, we use the edit and manage citations. Edit library references, the button right underneath it, will actually change the reference in EndNote, and it will change that reference on your reference list, which you do not want. So make sure you go to edit and manage citations instead. And that is how you add a page number. If you end up wanting to change, alter the way the author name is presented, or if it's, say, an organization such as the World Health Organization, and you don't want it to say World Health Organization, you want to shorten it to WHO, that is where you would make those changes. Or specifically, that is where you make changes that change how it is displayed in this one little instance in the document, but without changing the actual EndNote reference as it is stored in EndNote. If that's helpful. Please let me know if that's confusing or if you'd like any clarification.
Okay, and we have a little bit 5 more minutes if there's any other questions. Otherwise, we just want to stress the importance of you starting out with the EndNote 2025 desktop version, experiment with it, play around with the folders, play around with your importing citations, and later on you can do the EndNote web version, or you can always contact us. We can help you through that process. And yeah, if there aren't any other questions, I think we're going to conclude today's session, unless last minute takers, going once, going twice. Alrighty, well, I want to thank everyone for coming out, and thanks Tio for helping out with this as well. We work really hard, and if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to Tio or myself or any of the other Rosamond librarians. We can help you with all your citation needs. Thank you, everyone.
Someone said in chat, thank you. And so
Oh.
we love help. We love helping you guys with this stuff. Please reach out if you have any other questions. All right, everybody have